incredibly large pyramids, amazing sarcophagi, and even mysterious and inexplicable hieroglyphics. Ancient Egypt is undoubtedly one of the most interesting and captivating periods in human history. So much is still unknown, but at the same time, many relics from this almost forgotten period of time have been preserved. Again and again, researchers have found relics from the ancient times of the pharaohs, learned more about their rule and dynasties, and added them to history. This helps us to draw a much more detailed picture of what ancient Egypt may have looked like many years ago. Therefore, even though we have already found countless documents and relics related to this period of history, historians and researchers continue to uncover more secrets of ancient Egypt than we could have imagined. Today, we will show several incredible findings that have left researchers stumped. Many of these relics defy full explanation and may forever remain unsolved mysteries. So, without further ado, today we will explore several incredible discoveries from ancient Egypt that have stunned scientists. Hidden camera in the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Pyramid of Giza is known worldwide as one of the largest pyramids ever discovered. The pyramid remained untouched for more than 4,500 years, but it still holds many mysteries that scientists have yet to uncover. It is said that after the completion of its construction, the pyramid reached a height of about 146 meters. According to what we have learned about the history of Egypt, the pyramid was created in memory of Pharaoh Khufu. However, over time and due to changes in the climate of Egypt, the pyramid has changed as well. The Pyramid of Giza lost about 8 meters of its original height largely due to storms that devastated the area for many years, as well as natural degradation. After researchers spent many years studying the monument, they decided they had learned everything they could about the Great Pyramid. However, in 2017, scientists discovered something that shook them to the core. There was an important detail that had been overlooked all these years. Researchers learned that there was a large previously unknown chamber inside the pyramid. It is estimated that the chamber consists of about 3 million stone blocks, each weighing several tons. They say that the chamber is located directly above a large gallery and is about 30 meters deep. Researchers were able to discover this hidden chamber after using much more advanced technologies than those used decades ago when the pyramid was initially explored. When they documented the interior of this hidden chamber, experts used subatomic particles to map the interior of the pyramid. News of this recently discovered chamber quickly spread, but researchers have no idea what it could have been used for. Even after spending several decades studying the pyramid and its surrounding areas, they have no idea why such a large and seemingly unusable chamber was built in the center of the structure. Perhaps more details will become known over time, but at present, this mysterious chamber inside the Great Pyramid of Giza remains an unsolved puzzle. The mysterious liquid in the sarcophagus. Most of us can agree that Egyptian archaeological findings are truly remarkable. However, some of the most important and interesting discoveries relate to sarcophagi found in the ruins of ancient Egypt. These burial monuments allow us to get closer to the culture of that time, showing us how important burial rituals and the afterlife were to the ancient Egyptians. A few years ago, an ancient tomb was excavated in Egypt, and researchers hoped that this tomb would shed additional light on some popular burial rituals of the time. However, some researchers hoped that this tomb might contain the long-lost body of Alexander the Great. As specialists removed the sarcophagus from the burial site, they began to notice that things were not as they seemed. Once they looked inside the sarcophagus, they made a discovery that was unlike anything they could have expected. Upon looking inside, scientists learned that there were no bones of the famous leader known as Alexander. Instead, they found the remains of 3 individuals who were tightly buried together in a small chamber. In addition, the sarcophagus appeared to be poorly sealed, or the seal had deteriorated over thousands of years. Scientists realized this because the sarcophagus was also filled with a mysterious liquid substance that they could not explain. Some researchers believe that this red liquid could have been intentionally placed inside the sarcophagus, but no one knows for sure. They say that the liquid had a very unpleasant smell, although some locals wanted to take samples of the liquid to use for their personal purposes, whatever they may be. Researchers did not allow this, and soon learned that the liquid was not intentionally placed inside the sarcophagus. Instead, they discovered that the liquid was just impurities that had seeped into the sarcophagus over many, many years. Experts never could determine who was buried in the tomb, but they believed that the bones belonged to a warrior, as they discovered a wound in the skull that appeared to have been caused by an arrow. Heraclean. It is relatively easy to explore pyramids like the Great Pyramid of Giza, considering all the circumstances. Although there are hard-to-reach places in the pyramid inaccessible to humans, it does not mean that technology has not given us a stunning view of these once-forgotten chambers inside the Great Pyramid. However, crossing entire cities like Heraclean and Canopus turned out to be much more difficult. These cities were once the two most important places in Egypt, helping to bring goods from other nearby countries. However, over time, these cities began to decay, and eventually, they were swallowed up by the constantly expanding sea. Nonetheless, there are several well-preserved artifacts that were saved from these cities. And these artifacts gave us an amazing idea of what life must have been like all those years ago. For example, a group of experienced divers managed to document the remains of an incredible temple located deep underwater. Inside this temple, they found several ceramic artifacts and several batches of bronze coins. In ancient Egypt, these coins were probably considered very valuable. However, the information that archaeologists soon discovered was even more valuable. They learned that the city was much larger than they originally thought, and as they continued their research, they discovered more and more artifacts, proving that the city was several times larger than it seemed. When scientists explored Canopus, they learned that this city was also much larger than they thought. They also found dozens of valuable coins, and all of them are in surprisingly good condition for their age. Dendary lamps. We can understand that ancient Egyptians did not have the means to record history as we do today. As a result, much of the information about their culture and daily life has been lost over time. However, it seems that the Egyptians wanted to do everything in their power to ensure that their history survived for as long as possible. To do this, they developed a complex writing system in which images of ordinary objects, such as birds and other animals, were used to document history. This style of writing is now called hieroglyphs. We have come a long way in understanding how this writing system works, and have discovered many stories that are conveyed in these texts. However, one of the most interesting stories conveyed through hieroglyphs apparently shows the ancient history of the light bulb, which remains largely unsolved to this day. The problem with such images is that as far as we know, the Egyptians did not have a rational way to create a rudimentary version of the modern light bulb. However, the drawings and carvings to which we have access show in the smallest details the image of a modern light bulb. This has led some people to think that otherworldly beings must have visited the ancient Egyptians and given them access to modern technologies. These theories have been supported by other drawings and historical documents describing gods and goddesses who once mixed with humanity. As far as we can tell, there is no definitive proof of this, and many of these stories seem to be nothing more than rumors, but we cannot be sure. This is because, according to researchers, there were no traces of soot on the walls or ceiling of the temple where these carved figures were found. This means that torches were not used in this place, or if they were not used very often. So, if this is the case, visitors could see the room around them only if they had no access to some alternative form of light. As for the light bulb, we still do not know for sure what these drawings could have meant. Ultimately, the drawings could have depicted household items that were very common in ancient Egypt. In the following years, this object may have been lost to history, and perhaps it simply reminded them of a light bulb, which was a viable source of light for the Egyptians. Hope with time we will learn more about these drawings and what they actually predict. Although at the moment, we can't help but wonder if the ancient Egyptians had access to some sort of ancient version of a modern light bulb. What makes this discovery even more intriguing is that in recent years, researchers have discovered that the pyramids may have used the power of electromagnetic energy. Presumably, the shape of the pyramid could harness the forces of nature, allowing the ancient Egyptians access to certain powers that we cannot even use today. This theory has gone so far that some American research agencies have begun reconstructing models of the pyramids. In their studies, they have found that the shape of the pyramids could indeed reflect electromagnetic waves, potentially allowing the Egyptians to use this energy. Could they have used this energy to power things like ancient light bulbs? That's a whole other story, but it's certainly interesting to think about. The Lost City of Aten. If we looked back about 3,400 years ago in human history, we would be able to see the ancient Egyptian city of Aten. This city was located approximately 5 kilometers from Luxor, and was named after the Egyptian sun god who bore the same name. At least, that's what we learned from historical records that managed to withstand the test of time. For many years, this city was considered lost in time, but in 2020, researchers were finally able to clear the city's ruins so that we could take a much closer look at what life was like many years ago, and perhaps even unravel some of the mysteries of ancient Egypt. We know little about the city for sure, but we have reason to believe that at some point, the city may have been the largest metropolis in all of ancient Egypt. We have evidence that the city was at the forefront of Egyptian culture, being a city of trade and countless other business operations. In any case, Aten must have been the epicenter of almost all the important deals that took place in ancient Egypt, and was probably the most important economic and administrative city at the time. When the city was built, ancient Egypt was at its peak of discovery, and the exploration of this city shed a lot of light on Egyptian culture. But this discovery has also given us much more questions than answers. Researchers hope that by continuing to uncover new information about the city, they can learn more about ancient Egyptian rulers. For example, we would like to know more about their Aten and Nefertiti, as well as their strange and seemingly random decision to move to Tel El Amarna, since we know that around the same time, Aten fell apart. Here, there may be information that will help us understand what really happened at that time, and what ultimately led to the downfall of Aten. Which of these discoveries did you find the most interesting? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Please support the channel by liking and subscribing. It's the best motivation for me to continue releasing new videos.